Welcome to the In Love with PMDD podcast. I am your host, Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist, and I help you stop the monthly PMDD breakups. PMDD is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. It is in approximately 1 in 5 women, and it makes you want to break up with your partner approximately 1 to 2 weeks before your period every single month. So as someone who has suffered with PMDD for over 18 years, I dedicated my doctorate practice to helping partners navigate those monthly PMDD breakups with everything from attachment styles, triggers, sensitivity to noise, sensitivity to touch, all of the things that you really struggle with when you're in PMDD. And I also dedicated my dissertation to a phenomenological study of the relationship experiences of partners of individuals who suffer with premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So I'm not just here to help the sufferer, the one who is suffering with PMDD. I am here for the partners as well. So if you need those private sessions, make sure you go to inlovewithpmdd.com and get those tools. So let's get into this week's PMDD trauma transformational tools that is going to help you stop the monthly breakups and stop the suffering and stress in your PMDD relationship. Let's get into it. So today I have a very special guest, and I know that's really surprising because I never have guests on my podcast, but I decided to bring on Chris, who is a PMDD partner, who had a partner who has PMDD, and he, struggled. And we kind of been talking over the last couple of months on Instagram back and forth about him and his, relationship with his ex and everything that was going on. So I thought this was the perfect time to bring a partner on to get his side of what he goes through and really just understanding, the partner's perspective of everything when it comes to PMDD relationships. So Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rose. It is a 100% honor to be on your show. So thank you for having me.
Of course. So give me a little bit of background as to what was going on with your PMDD relationship when you first reached out to me months ago.
Just a lot of the I hate to say the norm, but the back and forths and the breakups, the monthly breakups and things of that nature. And I just got to a point where I was just, so wanting to help my now ex-partner to try to navigate the waters of PMDD, which is how I came across your information. But, just the same cycle, it was almost clockwork around certain times of the month. And I mean, it was just a nightmare. It would be 100% perfect and then 100% bad.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a struggle, I think, with any relationship, when you have extreme highs and extreme lows. So I don't know, just the arguing, the back and forth, the her packing up and leaving and then coming back, and kind of all of just the explosive damage from a lot of the, I guess, out of control rage was in our relationship. So yeah. I mean, that was it. I mean, for a long time.
And how long were you in a relationship with your ex?
We were together for 6 years.
That's tough.
6 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Six years. And for 2.5 of those years, I didn't know that, she had PMDD. I had never even heard of PMDD. And the bit of the backstory with that is that we went to high school together, and we lost contact. We ran into each other, and it was an incredible love story, a little bit. But we became best friends before we dated, and our friendship was perfect. Yeah, we were best friends before we dated. I mean, talk every day, hang out, share our stories about our lives with one another. And that was about 5 years before we even dated. And, I remember her telling me one day, called me. She was frustrated about, her at the time relationship. And she said, I don't know. It's like I break up with my boyfriends every month. And I'm, as a friend, you say, well, you know what? He wasn't good enough for you, or it's his fault. You
Mm-hmm,
deserve so much better,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
These are the things you say. These are the things you say to your friend, of course, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then I became the boyfriend getting broken up with every month.
Mm.
And I remember after the first couple of PMDD moments that it hit me like, wait a minute, this isn't the norm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what kind of led me to start doing some investigation because I wanted to see what was wrong with her. I mean, I love her. She was the best person I knew,
Right.
right? And literally, I never forget the day um, after we started dating, about 2 years in. I literally typed in the Google search, my girlfriend breaks up with me every month right before her cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And there came in PMDD.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think PMDD is always so easy to describe when you describe the symptoms versus knowing that it's a thing. I think everyone discovering it comes with, specifically with relationships, it's the monthly breakups, right? That's always the thing because you kind of start to hone in and you're like, wait a minute, this is happening around the same time every month. And sometimes a lot of the partners, I know for a lot of my private clients, the partners were the ones that discovered it before the actual person that suffered with PMDD did. And they were kind of going back to the PMDD sufferer and saying, hey, I think there's something going on with you. Like, I think there's a link and everything. And there's this period of time where there's like this denial. And it's like, no, like it's not PMDD or it's not this thing. Like, we really have issues in our relationship. Did you ever get to a point where she was kind of defending what it is that you were going through and saying that it was because of issues that you actually had in the relationship or even you as a partner?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that was the bane of the existence of everything. It was everything wrong. I was terrible. I was unsupportive. I didn't give her any value. I didn't acknowledge my faults. I was a narcissist. I gaslit her. I was a manipulator. And these are all things that no one on the planet would describe me as, even if I wasn't in the room.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So
Yeah.
it became a point where I got so deep into self-reflection because I'm thinking, hey, this is somebody who loves me immensely and who thinks the world of me, most times. And now these things that are being said to me, I'm thinking are coming from a place of concern, but really it was more so a place of dysphoria.
Yeah. Did you ever
So,
start to believe the things that she was saying about you when she was saying these negative things and these name callings? And when you were going through that period of time of self reflection, did you ever start? Because I've seen it with many private clients where they're like, Am I? Am I a narcissist? Am I manipulative?
oh,
Am I gaslighting her? Like it's almost this kind of like weird in between place where you start to think maybe I am the bad person. Maybe I am doing these things, but you really, really love the person. So you're like, it's really hard to work on something that they only believe half of the time because the other half of the time, you're not a narcissist, you're not manipulative, you're not these horrible things. So you go from believing it to not believing it.
yeah, no, definitely. I definitely experienced all those things. And, after so many years of it, it took me a long time. And, individual therapy to take those beliefs out of my spirit,
Mm-hmm.
because I did believe them because they feel so real.
Yeah.
When those words are coming out of her mouth, it really felt real. And I had to realize that for her, it is real. And
Yes.
that's where the disconnect comes from because it's very real to you, it's totally not real to me, but we have to battle through it, and a lot of the times, what she always would tell me is, hey, don't believe. Don't you put in too much on what I'm saying during those times. It's not
Mhm.
me. Oh, it shouldn't be me versus you. It should be us versus the PMDD, and that's kind of the approach that I started taking. But
Mhm.
once I started taking that approach, the abuse part got worse and worse. And I would, you talk to your friends and your family members, and you hear, oh, you're in such a toxic relationship. It's toxic. It's toxic. But I could never see it as toxic because of the level of love that we shared
Right.
outside of PMDD. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And in the beginning, Dr. Rose, it was a thing. It was like a 1 day a week thing, right? It was like it would happen one day, the cycle would start. The next day it would be like, wow, that was crazy. I don't know why I did that. Like, I love you. You're best in the world. you know.
Yeah.
And so it was okay then. And then as time went on, and I guess, you know, the older you get, the hormones deplete, I
Mhm.
guess, at a faster rate. So it's like one day went to 5, and then 5 days went to 10, and then 10 days went to 12, and then 12 days went to 14. So with a combination of those 14 days plus the PMS, towards the
Yeah.
latter part of our relationship, she was about 21 days of not being herself, which then left me, as the partner, with 9 to 10 good days a
Mhm.
month. And that's very, very difficult to negotiate, with just day-to-day life. So yeah, I definitely went through those things for sure.
Talk to me about the abuse that you mentioned, because it looks differently for everyone, and that's when I think, even sometimes, individuals hearing that in sessions or even me talking about it, it's such a cringe-worthy word because no one wants to admit that they are the ones that are abusing their partner. And also, no one wants to admit that they've been abused by their partner because there is that time where you're in your follicular days and you love them and you care about them and you would never say or do those things and you would never accept those things from anyone else, when you think about sometimes about how your partner maybe talked to you or said things to you, you kind of think like, I would never accept this from anyone else. Like I would never let anyone talk to me like this. Like you have such a high like regard for yourself. And you're like, why am I accepting this from the person that's supposed to love me the most? I know I'm not these things, but I'm staying in this situation.
Yeah, for sure. So um the abuse part of it, I mean, there's so many different layers of it, from mental to physical to verbal. Um, eh, the verbal part of it, I mean, some of the words that have been said to me over the years were literally the most horrific, disgusting things that anyone has ever said to me. And it hurt deeply, you know. Um, and the mental part of it for me was just the consistency of hearing words like manipulator, narcissist, gaslight, you know, and and over the years it was just like it really did rupture my spirit because like I said, I believe those things.
Mm,
Or even the physical parts of the out of control rage where, things might get thrown or I may get hit, no, especially, in a heterosexual relationship, no man is comfortable admitting that their partner is putting their hands on them.
mhm, mhm.
You know what I mean? So that was a challenge in itself because I'm not a violent person. I don't fight people. I've never been one to fight, even, as a child or anything like
Yeah.
that. And I found myself having to defend myself in situations where it's my female, PMDD partner
Mm-hmm.
physically attacking me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that was a lot to deal with. I still have scars to this day
Oh,
from just some of the violent nature of it. But I never held these things against her.
yeah.
And you know, friends and family, oh, why do you think you deserve that? And literally, I mean, to date, this is still the best person I know. This is a person that'll give their shirt off of their back to a stranger. You
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? So it was so hard to negotiate all of those things from such a loving and caring person, who just simply acknowledged that it was something wrong with them for sure,
Mm-hmm.
but never did anything about it.
That's interesting. Yeah, I was going to ask you what therapy did for you, but let's go to her first. What do you
Mhm.
think that she could have done when you're saying that she never did anything about it? What actions do you think she could have taken that would have perhaps helped you all save the relationship?
Well, I think that I've researched PMDD. Thousands of hours of research over the
Mhm.
years, thousands of hours. I think, just my opinion, but I think that she knows that she has PMDD. I mean, she's admitted it to me, more so in private. Now to others, of course, oh, I'm the problem. It's obviously Chris. Chris did this to you.
Mhm.
Chris made you like this, and even hearing that, from her family members and things of that nature, that was very harmful and hurtful. You,
Yeah.
you, you know what I mean? And because of the fact that, you know, um, if she, you call your friends again. I was that friend at one point, right?
Hmm.
Oh, he's this, he's that, he did this, well, he's no good for you. So now you have an outside force agreeing with your delusion, but they really don't know what's really going on here because you're not telling all of these people that I have this problem that causes me to feel this way. So to go back directly to your question, I think that if she would have taken the time to not just know what PMDD is and understand what her symptoms are, but if she took the time to understand how it makes her feel and how the intrusive thoughts that come into her head that's not real,
Hmm.
right? And I just don't think that she took enough time to understand anything past this is what I have. So this is what justifies my actions and my behavior. And it should be okay because I have this issue. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect
Ye-
sense.
Yeah. So I think I'm sorry.
No, 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 go ahead.
Yeah. So I just think that, for her, if she would have actually taken the time to understand more so of her feelings from it versus her actions, I
Mhm.
think it would have, you know, that would have helped us out tremendously down the stretch.
And you mentioned intrusive thoughts. I know you've done your research because that's one of the, yeah, that's one of the main things that I have three main things, and you've mentioned two of them. Intrusive thoughts is one of them, and then PMDD rage is obviously the second one. And I'm going to ask you about the third one, which are the attachment styles. Um, when your partner was in PMDD, did you or her have a different attachment style in a sense of how you were with each other? There's an anxious attachment style, the avoidant one, as far as the attention that you were needing and getting from each other. Did that change with PMDD?
Yeah, for me it was avoidant.
Okay. You got
It was
avoidant?
avoidant. Well, and during her PMDD, and
Yes.
and yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Um, um, I would avoid any type of conflict, at, if at all possible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Rather that meant me leaving the house, rather that meant, me not answering phone calls, rather that meant, I had to block her, from being able to reach me, which I
Mm-hmm.
always felt bad about these things because then in her mind at the time, she would process those things as me abandoning her. And I really felt horrible about that. But I got to a point where my mental health was so trashed that I had to, because if not, I had to make sure that my fight or flight wasn't being activated. Because earlier on in the relationship, I developed panic attacks. And
Mm-hmm.
I had never had panic attacks before. And again, as a man, it's very hard to talk about these things, especially with your woman, because now you appear weak. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And no woman actually will ever say that they're okay with their man being weak. So yeah, I developed panic attacks, very severe ones, um, but like I said, I got to a place where I just had to do certain things for my mental health, because I was always focused on hers.
Yeah.
So yeah, as far as her attachment style, I really couldn't speak to that because I'm not really sure how she felt, how she would feel.
Yeah. So when did you start individual therapy? Because you mentioned earlier that that really helped you. When did you start? Were you already in therapy or started because of the relationship?
No. I started because of the relationship. That was about 4 years ago, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, about 3 or 4 years ago. I did individual therapy just to try to, navigate through some of this stuff. I mean, because it was a lot. You know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
a lot to deal with, and it was so fresh and so new. And I mean, again, truthfully, the hardest thing for me in the entire relationship was the extreme highs. It's like, again, as the show says, we were good until we wasn't. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? And that was the thing. I mean, if we were the couple that everybody loved. We were the couple that everybody said, "Hey, you guys are next. It's going to be you guys." I mean, we've had radio deals, we've had TV deals, we've had businesses together that all imploded because of PMDD.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would get blamed for not, pushing through and doing the business
Mm-hmm.
because of PMDD. And it's like, well, we can't go on live, television or radio, and we don't know what you're going to say or do. And that was always a challenge because I never treated her as if she wasn't like she had a problem.
Right.
And sometimes she would be upset. No, you're treating me like I'm normal. Well, honey, you are normal. You know what I mean? You're not
Yeah.
abnormal. You just have a problem that is untreated. There's no treatment. You're not seeking any treatment for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, rough space.
When you went to individual therapy, did you mention PMDD or were you just mentioning what you were going through?
No, I totally mentioned PMDD, and unfortunately, here in the U.S., you mentioned that to let's just say 10 professionals, therapists, counselors, doctors. Maybe out of the 10, one has heard a little bit about it. So what
Yeah.
I found out from my individual therapy was my therapist could help me with what I was going through, but they couldn't fully understand what she was going through. And pretty much just said, "Oh, well, it sounds like she could be bipolar schizophrenic."
Mm,
But for anybody who's done the research, they'll know that the majority of women who suffer from PMDD have been misdiagnosed as bipolar schizophrenic or borderline personality disorder. And
mm-hmm.
then you end up, taking meds for those things, but does nothing for PMDD. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You're still there. So, if I could have, suggested anything to her to follow through with, it would have been cognitive brain therapy.
Okay. Yeah, you have done your research. I'm impressed.
Yeah,
Wait,
I
Chris.
know so much about it. You just it's unbelievable the knowledge that I have about menstrual cycles and the follicular phase and the luteal phase and the ovulation. I don't even believe that I know this much about stuff, but I do. Because I really this is a person that I really love and care about, and I just hope that one day I would be able to help, even if it wasn't for my benefit,
Yeah.
just for her overall life to be better. We are both entrepreneurs, you know what I mean? And I've watched her suffer through her business, because I mean, her clients don't know if they book around the the 8th of the
Yes.
month what's going to be happening, or the 14th of the month what's going to be happening. I mean, they don't know. And then of course, we have to make money, right? So I just watched her struggle through her work so bad, because of this, and I read an interesting article a couple of years ago, and that article told me that women that suffer from PMDD will miss out on an average of 8.5 to 12 years of their life. It'll be dark.
Mm,
And the thought of that, I didn't want that for her, Dr. Rose. I did not want that for her. You
yeah.
know what I mean? And she's been to therapy. So let me just say that I want to clear that up.
Mhm.
She did do therapy, but the problem is, if you're in follicular and you go to therapy and you're an amazing person, the therapist is going to look at you like,
Why are you
what?
here?
You seem perfectly fine to me. I don't know what's going on. And of course, during your, you know, your, I guess once the ovulation kicks up the luteal phase, or
Mhm.
whatever, you're too beat up, you're too broken down, you're too depressed to go sit in front of a therapist, and that's where the willpower has to come in. But unfortunately, it's not there.
Mm.
It's not there. So yeah, but yeah, CBT, cognitive brain therapy. I think that would help out tremendously.
Yeah, CBT is amazing. And I use that in my practice because it's really, I call it rewiring your PMDD brain, right? You're going into the
Hmm.
thoughts, you're investigating them and you're rewiring them, but you have to do so in a way that is, as soon as the thought comes in, you have to be able to do something to it, or else it's just going to run rampant. It's going to start, once it gets in you and you're so convinced of it, it's so hard to get a hold of it. So that's why I like teaching the tools that they can use on their own. In the Breakup Proof Academy, we go every single week and we go on another topic about PMDD for both, the sufferer and the partner. And I think it's just putting more things in your toolbox so that when you're about to have that fight or you're about to have that argument, you have something to do about it versus just sitting there and letting PMDD do what it does, which is, horrible.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So I think that's
Yeah.
a perfect recommendation. Let's go back because you actually messaged me earlier and you were asking if there was a link to PMDD and narcissism, and we never really got a chance to talk about that. What was your question on that?
Well, so again, a lot of these trendy words of the last
Mm-hmm.
few years, I often heard them: narcissism,
Mm-hmm.
gaslight, which I didn't even know what gaslighting was. I just found this out, right? Um, and I was just very curious, because one of the things that I've also come to understand about PMDD is projection.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the projection, you know, um, was confusing, because it was like, you hate me, you don't want to be with me, I don't, you have no value, and it's just like, what are you talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought about it, because I was often called a narcissist, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, maybe this is projection. And then I'm like, but I really don't believe that she's a narcissist, and I realized that those narcissistic traits
Mm-hmm.
only came up during, as what we used to call PMDD mode. you know
Mm-hmm.
um and so I started to see that, oh yeah, I think this is her. And then just thinking about the future, I read something that said, narcissists will change their location, their relationships, their friendships to avoid changing themselves. And that was so synonymous to me because, again, as someone who I've known so long, I've seen her start over so many times, and I've seen her, go through different relationships. This is prior to knowing anything about PMDD, of course, but they're also short lived. You
Mm.
know, I can remember times where, we would have a significant breakup, which to me, that would be one that lasted longer than 2 months. Um, there's been times where she's dated other people, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And once I get wind of it, I'm like, oh, well, the clock is ticking. We're
Yeah,
we're on the
okay.
way here, because
Yeah.
I know that within 60 days she's going to get into it with the new guy. He's not going to understand what the heck is going on with her. And then by the time it happens again, they're both going to be like, oh, wait a minute, no, this isn't going to work. And then she's going to come to me because I'm the only one that understands it. And that was kind of our pattern for so long. But um I said all that to say, like, as far as the narcissism goes, that it just dawned on me recently, like, oh, wait a minute, I think that PMDD brings a little bit of narcissistic character to the table as well. And honestly, Dr. Rose, a lot of this stuff had just gotten progressively worse, the
Mhm.
older she got. You know what I mean? And just more and more layers started to peel back. And it really did become, a lot to try to negotiate in day-to-day life.
Can I ask how old is she now and how old was she when you all first started dating?
She's 40, and she was 33 when we started dating.
Yeah, so going close into perimenopause, and that's a whole nother, oh my God.
Yeah, I know about that too. Somehow, some way, I know about that too.
Oh my God, you
Yeah.
were ready. You were in it for the long haul. You're like, I got
Oh
you.
yeah. Yeah. Hey, we're gonna figure this thing out together. That was always my theory. And I think, to all your listeners out there, if I may, a PMDD plan, something that's spoke about, in your non-PMDD days, I really think that would be detrimental. You know what I mean, Dr. Rose? Because
Mhm.
what I learned is that if we sat and wrote things out, and it would be in her handwriting and it would be dated, it's like, hey, this is what we said we were going to do. So let's try to do this. Let's try to do this. And, in the beginning it helped, but it wasn't nearly as severe in the beginning.
Mhm.
Like I said, it was a short amount of time. So, um, make a plan. It's no different than a fire drill. You know what I mean? Like your tornado drill when you was in school. Like, we know we're gonna do these things every time because it's going to happen. It's not a question on if, it's a matter of when.
When?
And yeah, because it is. And we had also tried hormone replacement therapy as well.
Oh, you did?
Um yeah, we did. We did in March of 2021. We tried hormone replacement therapy, and she's pretty holistic. You know what I mean? So she doesn't believe in a lot of modern day medicine stuff, in case things are severe. But we did try it, and uh, it helped for 1 month. It was supposed to be a 3 month slow release um, um, pellet that
Mhm.
was placed under her skin.
Mhm.
And April of 2021, I'll never forget, it was the best month of our relationship. There was no
Oh,
PMDD, Dr. Rose. Like,
oh,
we got to the end of that month, and I'll never forget. She came to me and she's like, "Babe, I haven't had no PMDD this month." And I was like, "I know, like, maybe we don't need to say it. It's like Beetlejuice. Don't say it 3 times because it might show up. Beetlejuice, say it again." But no,
you're like, shh.
you know, and it was the best month of my. I'll never forget that month of my relationship, because it it solidified what I knew that we were, which is crazy as it sounds. I've always told people we were the perfect imperfect couple. You know, Dr. Rose, we never argued outside of PMDD. We never disagreed outside of PMDD. I was never so aligned with a human being like I was with her. And I was married once. You know what I mean? So, but I've never had that type of alignment with a human being. Literally, we've never argued. I mean, imagine that. Imagine a relationship where there's never a disagreement, there's never an argument. It almost seems unreal.
Yeah.
But that was my case. And I was reassured that with the hormone replacement pellet, but unfortunately, I guess due to just the way the what is it called? The serotonin reuptake process happens and how the serotonin is overabsorbed in the nervous system. Well, April was great. May was a disaster. I guess the nervous system had totally sucked up those synthetic hormones that she had. And it led to one of the first biggest rages that we had ever experienced.
Oh no.
Yeah, I was we were out with friends and we were having, a great time, and I could always tell, when she was getting kind of in that mode, right? I could feel the energy. Well, between feeling the energy, the look in her eyes, the tone in her voice, just her overall body language. Like I said, one of the things that I will never take for granted between the two of us is we were very in tune with each other. So I could literally walk in a room and know when she was happy or sad or upset or anything without her even saying anything. So she had excused herself and, went to the restroom. And after about 20 minutes, I went to check on her and it was a disaster. I was attacked in the bathroom. It was just, it was a disaster. So at that point, we went back to the doctor and the doctor, pulled her hormones and everything. And he was like, I don't know what to do because the hormones that we put there are nowhere to be found. He said, I've never had this happen before. Yeah. Her body had absorbed all of those. So pretty much by the next month, she was full of testosterone. Yeah. So with the estrogen and progesterone dropping and the testosterone going up, and the balance, if it works right, it's fine. But when it's unbalanced, then, my partner would be full of testosterone. It could get pretty wild. You know what I mean? We rendered that totally ineffective because she couldn't get any she couldn't get a higher dosage. She had already had the highest dosage that was allowed by the legal limits of the state. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So fast forwarding with all the preparation that you were doing, everything that you endured, what could have possibly broke up you and your ex-PMDD partner? And I know before we started recording, we were talking about there's something in the universe.
My gosh. Yeah.
I know when I mentioned mine, everybody was like, what? They were like, no, not you too.
Right.
And I was like, me too. Like, I thought I was the only one. I was in this bubble of my own, trauma, and then like open it up. And I get this influx of people that are like, I'm going through that too. I'm like, what? No. But no one felt comfortable even talking to me about breaking up because my motto is like, don't break up,
Don't break up.
Yeah, let's stop the monthly PMDD breakup. So I guess they kind of kept it to themselves until they recognized that I went through a breakup. And then literally all of these clients come in and they're like, what do I do? Because I'm going through that too. And I'm like, wait a minute, what is going on?
I don't know, Dr. Rose. To your first point, I think you asked me what if I could have did anything to prevent or what could have prevented our breakup.
Yeah.
The honest answer to that, absolutely nothing. There's nothing, because there was nothing really wrong. These were her feelings, how she felt, and as much as I tried to reverse them, it just never worked. And I realized at that moment, um, it's nothing that could have changed how she felt, because the way that she felt was how she felt, irregardless if those feelings were synthetic or not. It's how she felt.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to beat myself up over the breakups, like, man, gosh, I wonder what I could have did differently, or maybe
Yeah.
if I would have did this, or maybe if I wouldn't have just been so avoidant, or but I had to get over that, because at the end of the day, nothing that I've ever said or done during the rage has helped. Now, the sadness, I've been able to help her overcome that instantaneously a ton of times. You
How
know
did
what
you?
I mean? But well, just filling her brain with positive thoughts when she's sad, and positive memories. And I would show her pictures of us, on vacation, and things that we've done together that we're just, laughing and smiling about. And that helped a lot, and comfort, if we were in the bed, just wrapping my arms around her. You know what I mean? So the sadness was okay. But again, it was always so hard to negotiate, because um I mean, there's been times where I went to comfort her and she headbutted me in my face. You
Mm,
know what I mean? So I would always be, you know, kind of mindful. Now, the comforting would happen if we were laying down, because you can't headbutt me if we're laying down. You know what I mean?
right,
But
right.
as far as face to face, I was afraid, and this is the first arena where I can say that is I was afraid. You know what I mean? I was afraid because I didn't know. I don't know the PMDD person. So I never knew what that person was capable of, you know. And then in retrospect to everybody's breaking up. I mean, shoot, Cardi B and Offset broke up again, right? Like, I don't know, I don't know what's going on, but this what is it? The Metro grade? I don't know.
Mercury retrograde.
Mercury
I've been hearing.
Mercury retrograde. Yeah, I don't listen. I don't know what that means exactly, but I want whatever that is to get out of here, because everybody's breaking up. I
Mhm.
probably know 6 couples that's broken up between
In real life
December and
couples,
now.
right? They're like real life
Yeah,
couples of people
these
you
are
know.
real life couples. These are my friends. Yes,
Yeah.
these are my friends, and it's just like, wow. You know what I mean? It's like first I felt like my breakup just triggered all of this. You
Oh
know what I
no,
mean?
like a domino effect.
Like a domino effect. Yeah, because I mean, we were everybody's favorite couple. You,
Oh
you know
no.
what I mean? Oh my gosh, yeah.
You're
Like, I
like,
mean,
you let
and
go,
and
everybody let go of the balloon. Then it just
everybody, yeah, it's like, what the heck is going on here? And I can remember being in one of our favorite places that we visit, like a restaurant, and someone asked me about her after the breakup, and I was like, oh yeah, we're not together no more. And just the response that he
yeah.
gave was like, what?
Hmm.
Whoa, I thought y'all was locked in for life. What? I would, huh? And of course there's no explanation that I'm going to give,
Exactly.
behind that. But it's just like, to hear that response, it was hurtful, but it also, I found joy in it, because that means that what the world saw was what it really was. And the
Exactly.
world wasn't supposed to see the other parts of it, because it was none of their business.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to ask you, did you share with any of your friends and family about her PMDD, or were you just holding on to that for yourself? Because I have private clients where some share, but then some are super protective and they don't want that kind of backlash, and they don't want their partner being treated differently. So they kind of don't say anything. But then I also noticed that, especially when I was getting my doctorate and I was going through the interviews, even just going through the interviews and asking the partners, they were all going to remain anonymous, but it was so freeing for them. I mean, once we stopped recording, they were saying like, thank you, Dr. Rose, that, that I have a safe place to even talk to someone about this, because I can't tell my friends and family what's been going on. And I haven't even told my partner, because I had them do the interview separate so that their partner wasn't able to hear what they were sharing with me. And the release that they got from just being able to talk about what they were really feeling and what they were really going through and how long they had been going through it, and sometimes feeling like they couldn't be completely open about how they were feeling, because there was this imposter syndrome where it's kind of like, you're not the one with PMDD. Like they're the ones who have PMDD, they're the ones suffering. So, just suck up what you have going on because it's not as comparable to their suffering.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I did mask it for quite some time. But it became so volatile and dangerous. For whatever reason, a lot of times her rage would come out while we would be in public. So over over a 6-year period, I probably had 200 run-ins with law enforcement.
Oh my gosh.
So I had to get to a point where, I had to start telling people, because shoot, man, I've been arrested twice.
Yeah.
I've never been arrested for anything, and it's like, if somebody gets a phone call from your local jail it's domestic violence or whatever the case is,
Mm-hmm.
they're looking like, well, hold on, you're, you're not domestically violent. Like, what the heck is going
Yeah.
on here?
Yeah.
And so I did have to start sharing. For mental health reasons and just for safety reasons. You know what I mean? And got to a point where my family, oh, well, what happens if she does that and she stabs you?
Aw.
You know what I mean? And this is things that people had to deal with. So even though it's painful that the relationship came to an end, there's so many people relieved that I'm not in danger anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that honestly, I am concerned about her well-being and her safety. You know what I mean? Because there's times, some women that suffer from this have suicidal thoughts.
A lot.
And there was very,
Yes, a lot do.
yeah. Yeah, and there's various times, Dr. Rose, where I stopped those attempts, and I still have the scarring from wrestling knives
Yeah.
out of her hands. You know what I mean? So yeah. And as far as like you said, the imposter thing again, like we're public facing people, so you know, I a lot of this stuff people just can't know because it'll immediately impact her business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I can understand, and it's hard space, especially in a heterosexual relationship, because the level of abuse that's being taken on. Just from a man's standpoint, it we don't want to tell nobody that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? We don't want to share that with nobody. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just it's just one of those things, man. Nobody even knew this. You know, I mean, Nobody knew this about her prior to. Her family didn't know, but they knew that, oh, she has these tantrums but that was it. So
Yeah.
imagine, and there was never no, relationships with other people that she dated in her family. So imagine I'm the one that's trying to break this news to this family
Mm.
33 years later. Well, I take that back. It was probably 3 years in. So, she's 36 now, and I'm trying to say this, and well, we've never heard this before. Because you've never had a relationship with nobody that she's been with. We were locked in. We planned to get married and everything.
Aw.
So yeah, so I wanted to share this to see maybe if we could get a group effort going or
Yeah. Yeah.
something. So
Yeah.
I became the bad guy.
Because you're the one that
It,
brought light to something.
I'm the
Yeah.
one that broke the story,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, oh well, it was never a problem before, so obviously it's you. And it's like, okay. And remember, I was the best friend, so I've heard stories already.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I've seen things. I saw the out of control rage a few times before we dated. But again, I'm thinking, oh, you're just mad at that person. A little extreme, but you're just angry.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So I can totally understand the I think you called it what did you call it, the imposter
Yeah, imposter syndrome.
uh
Yeah.
yeah, imposter syndrome. Yeah. Yeah.
So take us to
Yeah.
the end
Mhm.
and the breakup. What finally broke you all up? Was it a conversation? And how did you know that this was the end and not just another one of the PMDD monthly breakups?
No, there was no conversation.
Okay.
She had a rage out the day before she left. It was pretty bad. Police were involved, family members involved, things of that nature. And I'll never forget, after she calmed herself, she asked me if I was okay. I said, yeah, and then I remember her apologizing and saying, hey, I'm sorry if I said anything mean. And I'm just like, okay, again, I'm being avoidant because I don't want any confrontation. I don't know what's going on. And literally I left one day and came back. She was gone. I left out, came back, all her things were gone. And you know, I was kind of, just looking around like, wow, this is pretty wild.
Living.
so so there was never no indication prior to, we had talked about, we were in the process of moving. So, we had talked about what our plans was, and we had a plan that we was executing. So, thinking we're just in the process of moving, but no, she left. There was no indication, there was no conversation, there was no anything. She was just gone. And I reached out to her and I just said, "Oh, hey, looks like you're gone. You didn't have to leave like this. We could have had a conversation or a goodbye or some form of closure." And I never, she pretty much said, "Hey, oh, sorry I left like that, but the relationship is damaged, and it's not working to be repaired." But she never gave any specifics. Had always told her, like, I mean, I don't know how to repair things that go on for you that you think that I'm not doing while you're in PMDD. But yeah, there was nothing that led up to it. The night before we laughed and joked like always. That morning we laughed and joked, called each other pet names, and she left. That's it. That's the end of the story. And I haven't spoke to her at all. It's like we never existed. It's like it never happened. 6 years, nothing.
And how do you know? Because has there ever been a period of time before where you all weren't communicating? Because I know you said there were like 2 months that you would break up and she would date other people. Was she in communication with you during that time or no?
During those times, yes. The only time where we didn't have any communication was a few years ago through one of her attacks, her, things. And she actually had a restraining order issued against me. Now, mind you, again, I'm not violent. I've never, I don't put my hands on nobody.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And when this restraining order was issued, unfortunately, it was during a PMDD mode. So she ended up having a whole thing in the courtroom. And I remember telling the judge, I said, I know you probably don't understand what I'm trying to explain to you about what's going on here. I said,
Yeah.
and I know you have to do things to protect the liability of yourself in the county. I said, but what I will tell you is that probably somewhere within the next 30 to 60 days, she's going to be back down here and she's going to be dropping all of this foolishness, and the judge told me, he said, this is more so for your protection. And that kind of took me back a little bit. You know what I mean? But anyway, so during that time,
he was going to understand.
Right, exactly. But I think he understood enough to say that you're the one in danger.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and that was a complete stranger. You know what I mean? That only heard 15 minutes of a conversation. But anyway, during that time, no, we did not speak. We didn't speak for 2 months. So there was probably 3 occasions over the course of our relationship where we had zero communication for about 2 months. And then, usually she will, like I said, she will reach out to me and we'll have a, kind of kumbaya moment. And before you know it, we're back together. You know what I mean? And we're always so happy to be back together. I mean, I truly feel that, she's my soulmate. You know what I mean? So, and I mean, she feels the same as well, at least she did. I don't know how she feels now, but, and then the cycle will just kind of start all over again. In the beginning, I'm going to work on this, I'm going to work on that. And, this is what's going to be better. And then it's not, it doesn't happen, and then we're right back to square one. So, I don't know. Honestly, this time around, I don't really necessarily know that without any type of proven effort, on her end, with any forms of treatment, anything. I mean, anything that I would remotely be interested in trying to reunite with her again. And that's painful because this was my best friend. More than anything else, this was my best friend.
Mm-hmm.
So to even imagine that after all of these years that my best friend is just has vanished. It was very disturbing to my mental health. Very.
So how has that been? How's the healing and the mourning process been for you since the breakup? How have you found closure
Mhm.
without actually having those conversations? Because normally when there's a breakup, there's like, we need to talk about this, we need to have this, but you're saying that that never happened. So how have you found closure to be able to move on?
Well, it was hard. The first month was extremely hard. Um, it was, a lot of restless nights, a lot of sleepless nights. What I have done to find closure for myself is I've highlighted all of the beautiful memories that we created, and
Mm.
we had a lot of them. You know what I mean? We did. I mean, we've traveled the world together. Like I said, we've opened businesses together. We've shared our life with hundreds of people over the years. Like I told you, we were the ones. We were the ones that hosted the Sunday fun days. We were the ones that had all the pool parties in the summertime. We're the ones that you come over and watch. You watch sports on the weekends. I mean, it was us. Our house was always open. We were always entertaining. So I just had to find. I had to find my own closure. I remember. I She called me about a week after the breakup, and then I'll go back to that point because I just thought about something. And she asked me what I thought was a ridiculous question. She asked me, "Oh, um, did you find something under the mattress in our bedroom that she needed?" She's like, "It's something that she asked for," and I'm like, "No." But then when I went to look under there, there was a bunch of like a lot of the cards that she had given me over the years, which were very sentimental to me, that she would take during PMDD. She would take them because I would always display them around the house because I always displayed things of sentiment around the house that we've given each other, so that when she was feeling bad, hopefully she could get a glimpse of something on the coffee table, something on the mantle, something on a wall, something in the bathroom to help to recenter her to say, "Hey, whoa, I actually do love this person. This is my person." So I guess over time, she had collected all this stuff little by little. I had no idea that the little things were missing, and she put them under the mattress under my side of the bed. I guess hid them from me.
Oh my God.
And yeah, so when she asked me about that, it was like it was an alert for her to tell me to go look under the bed mattress, and I found all of these things, all of these cards. Rather, they were handwritten. She was very good at being sentimental, and she was very intentional about that. And the beginning of the relationship, after she would PMDD rage out on me, so I was able to find all of these memories of things that she wrote to me and told me how great I was and how she just loves me and we're the best and we're going to make it and everything's going to be okay and things of that nature. So I found all of those after she directed me to them. And that's what helped me, Dr. Rose. I've
Yeah.
had to find closure in all of the good memories, all of the pictures of us on vacation, and just doing what we love to do, which was to entertain people and go out and have a good time. And that's what helped me. you
That's
know
so
that that that's what helped me.
yeah.
And that's it. That's all I have.
Yeah, I really admire your dedication, even towards the end, and having such a positive outlook on what, towards the end, I know can be like a painful process that I'm currently going through.
Yeah.
But I'm just, yeah, I actually did something similar, which was kind of looking back and just looking at all the good times and everything like that, looking at lessons learned and things that we've helped other people with, and just trying to find the light and the darkness. Before we end, what is something that you would, well, I have a question. So
Sure.
knowing what you know now, and I know you may be far, far, far removed from thinking about dating or anything like that, but knowing what you know now, would
Uh-huh.
you ever date someone who has PMDD again?
All
You're
right.
laughing. You
So
already knew what I was
no,
going to ask.
I got a funny story for you. So I'm gonna try to make it fast because I don't want to take too much
No,
time.
you're good. You're good.
Right, okay. So I got a funny story about that, and then I'm gonna answer directly. So after a few weeks of this breakup, I said, you know what? Maybe I just have to go on a date with somebody. You know what I mean? I don't know how it works. You know what I mean? But my friend's like, oh, get on this dating app, and I'm like, God, that sounds weird, but whatever.
Yeah.
So I get on this dating app, meet somebody. Uh, we communicate. Of course, in the world of everybody gets catfish, I'm like, hey, let's go out. I want to at least make sure that you're the person that you say you are that's on the picture. So we go out and we're having a great time. Now, of course, I'm not emotionally available, and I'm very transparent about that. Hey, just out of a breakup, whatever the case is, not looking for nothing serious. Anyway, so we're talking, we're having a good time. And then, I promise you this, I can't make this up. The girl says, well, yeah, I have this little known condition called PMDD. I I said no
No.
way. I said no way. I said, and I can't say what I said on this radio show. We'll talk offline.
Oh
And I
my
said
goodness.
no way. So then I said, you know what? I said, God sure is funny. You know what I mean? So this is the first date, Dr. Rose. I said, whoa, 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 whoa. I said, you have what? She says PMDD. I was like, yeah. I said, I'm gonna be honest with you. She was like, have you heard about it? I said, I lived it.
Oh my
I said,
God.
listen, I said, I'm not remotely interested in dating anybody that I don't know with PMDD. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
only one person on this planet that I would at some point, not right now. If it was possible and the universe aligned properly, then there's only one person that I would. And we all know who that is.
Oh
My
my
ex.
goodness.
Yeah. Yep. I'm terrified. I'm not gonna lie. But I know hers. So if she was able to get that under control somehow, or at least do something baseline, like take your wonderful breakup proof academy, or listen to your amazing podcast, some sign of her trying to do something to alleviate her
Mm-hmm.
symptoms that causes so many problems in her life, which then bleeds on to others, I would totally entertain that. But again, like I said, just really kind of far removed from it right now. I
Oh
need to heal.
my
And I do
God.
understand that people cannot heal in the same arena where they were hurt. You know what I mean? And I'm a firm believer of that. And
Yeah.
it's a challenge, you know what I mean? And it's something that I think people should definitely be in tune enough to share with future partners, because it is something that will impact your relationship, and you have to be able to navigate through it. And that's the only thing that I tried to tell her. I don't hold anything against her for anything that's transpired. And it's been a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't hold
Yeah.
her responsible, because it's not her fault. But at the end of the day, what is her fault is the fact that she won't try to get any form of help for the situation.
That's perfect, because I'm a strong believer, and I say this to my private clients a lot, and I don't share it that much on the podcast, but I always tell them when we're going into doing the work and everything and using the tools, it's like PMDD is not our fault, but it is our responsibility.
That's
And
right.
mean by that is we can let go of who gave this to us. Like, when you're so focused on who did this to me and why do I have this, and it puts you in that place where you're not trying to work on it. You're just in that victim mode of feeling like something's being done to you. So whatever you do as a response to that is not your responsibility. And I say, no, it is your responsibility to do something about it. And that's why getting the tools is so important, because it does bleed on everyone, and not just your intimate partner, your children, like the whole life that
Mm-hmm.
you have, your business, your work, and all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of colleagues that deal with other aspects of PMDD, you know, PMDD in business and entrepreneurship, like you were saying, it leads into everything. And I just say, however you feel or you see that PMDD is impacting your life, you need to be actively doing something about it because it is your responsibility to get the tools in that particular area. Yeah, so I guess your answer is no. Okay. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, overall, no. I don't think at 40 that I that I have another learning experience with PMDD in me. Now if it's already therapy happening and there's already, some type of treatment, maybe, but overall, I'm terrified of it, to be honest with you, because it's like you're entangled with two people. One person you fell in love with and one person is a stranger, and you can't, it's not possible to be able to negotiate that. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Especially without seeing any, like I said, I would go through all that again with her if she was getting treatment. Like if she was getting treatment and all that stuff was still happening,
Mm-hmm.
hey, she's working. It was the lack of taking the responsibility to try to do something is where the problem came in for me. And I can't fight that. You know what I mean? So it's like, hey, if I was a problem, sure, I'm sure that I had some triggering effect due to
Yeah.
due to PMDD. The smallest things are major, bombs in the PMDD world. And I understood that. You know what I mean? And I mean, a lot of times, honestly, she would bring up stuff from years ago, like, wait, so that one time where I didn't wash the dishes that day, you're upset about it. That was 3 years ago. But I understood that those are the little things that during PMDD can get obnoxious. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? And yeah, so yeah, I am sure that, you know, um, in being single, I am sure that the symptoms probably will decrease because you no longer have a safe target. You no
Mm,
longer have a safe target. So it's like now like, okay, versus breaking everything in your house, maybe I'll just cry in the shower and get into bed.
yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Nothing to
But
aim at. Yeah.
it's nothing to aim it at. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, why shoot a gun if you don't have a target? You
Exactly.
just have a gun. You just have a gun at
Yeah.
the end of the day. So yeah, so I do believe that the breakup will in fact help her for a short period of time. It'll just start all over again once she gets another, romantic love interest. And
Yeah.
that's the worst part of it. You know what I mean? Or it'll start turning to family. And in this case, with a family that didn't believe any of this, um, they'll get a chance to see it. and
Because you're
and
not that
and
barrier. You're not that barrier in the
that's right. I'm not the target.
yeah.
I'm not the
So
target, right?
removing you from it, it's gonna bleed on somebody else. I get it.
It'll just bleed on somebody else,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't have no ill will, and I would encourage anybody who's tuned in to us right now that if you're going through a breakup or if you're going through a rough spot in your PMDD relationship, don't harbor any resentment.
Mm,
Don't harbor any resentment. You know what I mean? Because
yes.
at the end of the day, the person that you fell in love with, that is the person that's buried underneath that PMDD,
Yes.
and they can't help it. It's not an excuse, but just don't harbor resentment. Even if the unfortunate happens and you guys have to split ways, don't harbor any resentment. Just always know that the person you fell in love with is still in there somewhere.
I love that. It's like yeah, I love everything you're saying. It's so in alignment with what I said. I mean, even after my breakup episode, my very next one was how to avoid a bitter breakup with your PMDD partner, and you're speaking that. And I
Right.
just that's so admirable because it's so hard to not be bitter. So if you haven't listened to that, go listen to that. I'm looking forward. I hope you'll come on the podcast again. I love
I
talking.
will. Absolutely. It's been such a pleasure to to
Your
to be on your show.
your knowledge is like you've gone
Yeah,
to
I've
community university. Like, oh
yeah.
my
What my
God.
friend told me, he said, "Man, he's like, you're like a junior gynecologist or something. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know how I know this much stuff, but no, I would be more than honored to be on the show. Like I said, I have admired your strength and your courage, Dr. Rose, even your transparency of everything going on in your life. And I wish you the absolute best with that for you and your ex PMDD partner, and hope that you guys are able to navigate through that, even if it just means a friendship, because that stuff is still important. So I have been honored to be on your show, and this is just an incredible, incredible honor for me. And of course, I would be on your show any day.
Thank you so much. So we'll be hearing from Chris again. And until next time, we got this.
Y'all got it.
I hope this PMDD episode helped you and your partner in your struggles within your relationship. And if this is something that you know that you need help with and you need further support, individualized support, make sure you're going to inlovewithpmdd.com and you're getting those private sessions to really work through what you're going through in your relationship, specifically in regards to PMDD. And also, I want you to leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. What this does is it helps other PMDD sufferers and partners find this show that can help them get these free PMDD relationship tools. I remember what it felt like to not know that there were tools out there specifically for PMDD relationships. So I want to make sure that you are sharing these tools with others, share them on your social media, share them with people that you know that are also struggling in their PMDD relationships. Until next episode, this is Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist. One more thing, I almost forgot. I now have the Fresh Start PMDD Partners Workbook. What this workbook can do is if you've had past traumatic experiences with your partner, past fights, past arguments, and they keep coming up every single month in PMDD, I created a Fresh Start Workbook so that you can deal with all of the traumatic experiences that have happened in the past in PMDD rage and all of these things so you can stop going through the same cycle again and again and again. So get that workbook. It comes with a video episode of the actual podcast that I recorded on getting a fresh start in your PMDD relationship. So you're not continuing the same cycle again and again and again. So make sure that you get that workbook. And if you need those individualized counseling sessions, you know where to go, inlovewithpmdd.com. Until next time, we got this. Love you.